Hello, everybody. It's Wednesday, 23rd of October, 2024. It's 9 p.m. here in Ireland, in the UK, 10 p.m. in France. And always, when we have a friend lost somewhere in the world, we bring him to stay here with us. So, our friend Dana Sisi, once again with us. He lost himself in the middle of London, and we just found him and said, "No, come here, come here." Thanks to Elsa, Elsa found him. Elsa,
Wandering the streets.
yes, yeah, Elsa found him. So, and he's here.
Thank you for
He's here.
having me and letting me barge in your very fun program. I appreciate you guys for taking me in this cold English night. Well, it's not that cold, but
Nah.
and it's
Nah.
great to see you guys.
Yeah, good. And as always, Mrs. Gibbons, good evening, my dear.
Hello, good evening, Stevan. You live in Charles. Nice to have you with us again, Dan. It's always a pleasure.
Good evening, Stevan. You live in Charles.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Nice to have you with us again, Dan.
Oh my God, so sorry. Too many equipment
At least
around.
someone is watching us on YouTube,
No, I'm sorry. I didn't realize it was on. It's always nice to be with you. Good evening, everyone that's with us tonight and is going to be listening to this at a later date. Today, we're going to talk about something very important, as always, but this emancipation of the soul, talking about sleep and dreams, is very important. It's questions that many people have, and they don't quite know how to understand it or deal with it. So it would be really nice to talk to you all about this subject from a spiritist point of view. So welcome, everyone. And it's going to be really good. Thank you.
Good. And bonsoir, Charles.
Bonsoir, Steven. Hello, Dan, Silvia, and Steven. Very happy to be here again with you. Indeed, Silvia told it, it's a good topic, and it's something quite common. Every night we go asleep normally. So what happens when we sleep? So we will try to investigate a little bit.
Great. Okay, so as we said, the topic, it is emancipation of the soul, sleep and dreams. So since we are spirits incarnated, and as we learn, the spirits don't need to sleep, but the body does. So what happened while the body is sleeping? They play card, the spirits playing card, the spirits watch Netflix, no? Or today go to YouTube and see some videos. So what the spirits doing while the body is recharging? So that's the topic for today. And we will learn more about what your spirit is doing while you are sleeping. So, based on this, let's start with our guest. Dan, what's your introduction?
That's a great point. I think you sort of did it for me, and I really appreciate that. I think that dreams is always a topic that many people are interested in, and there's different ways that we can look about and talk about dreams interpretation. There's people who make a living or try to make a living interpreting dreams, and so forth. But what I really like about Spiritism is that it helps us think with a spiritual perspective about the topics that we want to talk about. And so in this one, for interest, instead of necessarily trying to understand how dreams work, it is really great for us to start where you started, Stevan, which is we know we are spirits. And we also know that while our body needs rest, we ourselves, our essence, because we're not our bodies, the spirit does not. And so we detach, so to speak, from our bodies during this night. And then we do things that are of our interest. I wouldn't put past some of us to actually play cards, right? And I bet that some of us would actually want to watch Netflix, if they could. But with that in mind, we know that as night or whatever, whenever you're sleeping, we have the ability to detach, and making sense of those experiences is the tricky part. I don't know about you guys, but I feel like I've had dreams that were very vivid, and I have dreams that are garbled up and they are all disjointed and make no sense at all. And so I am really led to believe that some of them are so powerful for a variety of reasons that we can go into, that we benefit from remembering what we did. I do remember being in some places in the spiritual world, talking to some people that were really vivid, as if I could remember it like as if I were talking to you right now. But that happens very seldom for me. But at the same time, I also remember crazy dreams where I was in one place and then I went and I was in a boat and then I was in an airplane, I was somewhere else, right? And it doesn't mean that I did those things in the spiritual world. It just means that my body processing things, my brain processing things, jumble memories and things up. So it's a really interesting topic, but one that is very hard for us to cover if we are thinking about dream interpretation, which is what most people are interested in, right? And so I think maybe that's a great place to start. Like, I personally am not always interested in dream interpretations, but I do know that dreams can be a great opportunity for us to connect with those that we have lost or think we have lost, and to really reflect on different things. So it seems really sci-fi and different, but it's something that the more that we think about, the more we can, ascertain our spiritual reality and know, no matter what, that there's something else going on. Because when we sleep, our spirit goes somewhere else, and we know that our body reacts differently, right? Our breathing changes, our whole physical rhythm of things, decreases. So there's definitely something going on there. And I love that Spiritism tells us the why that's happening. It makes sense that while the body is taking a little bit of a break, while the spirit's taking a little bit of a break from the body would operate differently too, right? So I find that very reassuring in many different ways. But I think it's a fascinating topic, and I should not be the one speaking by myself here. So I want to toss the ball back to folks to see what their perspective is on this.
Okay, let's keep going here. Charles, how does sleep facilitate the emancipation of the soul, according to Spiritism?
It's exactly what Dan just told. When the body needs to rest, the soul does not need to rest. So when we sleep, in fact, our body is resting in our bed generally, but our soul is getting momentaneously free from the body, remain linked to it, of course, and can go around in the spiritual world according to the affinities. That's why we can have good sleeps or we can have more difficult sleeps. And so it's exactly explained by that. It's emancipation of the soul while the body is sleeping. When we are in the wake state, our spirit is absorbed by our wake states and has, how to say, a filter of the matter of our consciousness in this life. But when our spirit is free from the wake state, from the physical body, temporarily, then it has a much brighter view, much wider view, remembering things from the past that we cannot, for instance, from past life, that we cannot remember at the wake state, or sometimes even see what we have planned for the future. So when we wake up, then the body comes back into the filter again, you know. And this is why generally when we wake up, I had a dream. Huh? So you have to write it up, otherwise you forget it very quickly. In a couple of minutes later, you forget it. And this is exactly coming from this change of dimension. We come back from the spiritual dimension back to the material dimension. And that is also one reason of this confusion, as Dan gave an example. You sometimes you dream you were in a plane and then in a train and then in a ship or whatever. You know, this confusion. Why? Because our brain in our wake state is not able to transmit all this memory. It's filtering this integral memory we have in our soul to the wake state. And that's why we forget it very quickly. But sometimes, of course, some dreams are totally oniric. It would be useless to look for a meaning in it. Sometimes also you have some rules, like if you, for instance, dream that you have a problem on the teeth, it means that somebody will die. No, these things really may even influence us to make us afraid, and there is no real reality in all this. Now, I will give you just an example of such a dream. It was when I was younger. I was not Spiritist yet. I was educated in Catholic Church. I went to the teenager age, and the church could not give, the religion could not give me understandable answers to some legitimate queries. So I got indifferent from all these religious matters. And it's exactly in that age that I was, how to say, I don't know the equivalence. It was just before what we call here the baccalaureate. So it means the secondary school just before you go to the university. So 2 or 3 years before I passed or I tried the baccalaureate, which is the diploma at the end of the secondary gymnasium courses. And I had a recurrent dream. So I dreamt 7, 8, 9 times, 10 times about the same thing, you know, and that was quite stranging. And it was something which was absolutely improbable. My dream was, you will get the best note, the best result from this exam. And only in my class, you know, there were 5 or 6 people who had better results than me in average, you know. So it was something totally improbable. And it was recurrent, you know. I dreamt it something like 10 times. 3 years before, 2 years before, 1 year before. And at the end, I went there to the exam, and guess what? I had the best average of the whole academy of my region. So something crazy, totally improbable, but I dreamt it so strongly, you know. There you keep the memory of these type of things, and it happened. So this is a so-called premonitory dream. And I think that was an event in my teenager life to prepare me for what would happen later on when I was a little bit older, with 25 years, and discovered Kardec and the Spiritist body of knowledge. So just to give you an example. And another thing about the dreams is, you know, when you have a difficult decision to take, you are in doubt, you don't know what to do, and so on. In French, we say, la nuit porte conseil. How do you tell that in English? When you have a difficult...
The night is a good advisor.
Yes, something like that. So don't take the decision now, sleep a night, and then next day you think about and you take the decision. So this is also something fantastic, because when you have such a concern, and even when you prepare ourselves before we go asleep to say, oh, my mentor, please help me in this decision. When we sleep, our spirit goes by affinity to meet the mentor. And then comes the explanation and whatever. The next day you wake up, uh, even if you don't remember that you met him, you keep the result of what you had discussed and exchanged in the spiritual world. So you go back to the source to take some advice, and then you come back and say, okay, my decision is this. Next day, early in the morning. So it's another thing. We are how to say trapped in our physical body. It's a little bit like a prison. It's a strong wording, but it's a little bit like that. And sometimes we can free of it and go to the source, go to the mentor, see our beloved ones who went before us, and so on, so that we can charge again in energies and in motivation for our journey.
Good. Good, good, good. Thank you, my friend. And Ms. Gibbons, uh, does the quality of a person's spiritual and moral development affect the experience of the soul during sleep?
Well, affects the whole of the life, doesn't it? Because we are guided by the level of understanding and moral standing that we have. So of course we will dream with things that concerns us, and everyone has the things that attract them. That's where they're going to go during their dreams. We, in a way, our spirit, which is what guides our body, will go wherever it feels comfortable with. We'll meet forgive me, the people that they are used to be with. And so of course, if we, as it was said, when we sleep, our spirit frees itself from our bodies, although there is always that connection through the silver cord. And it will, the spirit will meet people from the spiritual world, sometimes old friends that we left when we came to earth. We meet them, we meet family members, or maybe we go to talk to people we know. It's very common that someone someone you like, a friend, say, oh, I had a dream with you yesterday or 2 days ago. And you say, oh, yes, I dreamed with you as well. It's just because you were meeting, together. So we go wherever our spirit feels comfortable with. So Amor is standing. It's very much part of the places we go. Also, when we talk in terms of spiritism, we know that sometimes a spirit, especially those who work in mediumship, is very common for them to, after maybe coming from going to a mediumship session, and afterwards when you go home, when you go to sleep, you still continue to work with the spirits that you were working with before. It's also, you can continue, you can go to work in the spiritual world. There's so many things. And I think one thing that is very important for us, because dreams is extremely important for us. And we see things about dreams, in the Bible from the very beginning. I mean, from Genesis, we have the story of Jacob and the ladder, and there are so many important things that happen in dreams. Joseph, when he had the dream of, when he was able to decipher the dream of the Pharaoh, which completely changed his life, from being a slave to becoming one of the most important people in Egypt after the Pharaoh, because of, he was able to have the understanding of the meaning of the dreams and things. And there are so many other cases and within the spiritist literatures where we have many examples of dreams, especially in the books of André Luiz in the spiritual world. There are many things. And when we read in the psychology about dreams and the importance of dreams, it really tallies together how we go and we leave things, things maybe that worries us. I think Charles was giving a really good example just before. I remember as well a friend of mine who was going, she was doing an exam, she's a physicist, and there was a thing that she had been studying inside and she just couldn't get it. And she was very concerned. I said, probably that's what it will be in the exam. And she had a dream that she could solve the problems, that she was very worried about. And then she said, oh, I know what it is. She went to sleep again and she didn't write down. So the next morning she didn't quite remember it. But so also, we tend to dream of things that worries us, concerns us. And so it's very, very special. Dreams have to be, and then of course, there are a lot of people who want to know, what you dream. I had an uncle, he said, what did you dream? Because he liked to gamble, and so he would get all these kind of animals and whatever he would interpret, and fortune tellers, and it's like, but I think in a way, all this means that people put a lot of confidence in what they dream and what it means. So you have books and books and books, with the symbols of this and symbols of that. And of course, when you study psychology, Jungian psychology is very much based on dreams. And one of the things that Jung would recommend, that you would leave a notebook and a pencil by your bed, and as soon as you woke up, before you got up, as Charles was saying, we forget it. So it's very, very important to pay attention in our dreams, to see what it means to us, and because most of it is when we go into the spiritual world, is when our souls are free. And sometimes we don't actually remember what we dreamt about, but we remember things. We remember little bits and pieces that, the symbolism actually, and you have just a feeling or maybe of well-being or something. And I just remember that there is I can't exactly remember now which book it was, of André Luiz, this girl was going through a very bad situation. She was in real trouble. She was young and she was alone. And she had lived with her grandmother who had died. And things were really bad. Lots of bad things were happening. And she was very bad, feeling very unhappy. And she had this dream that she was talking to her grandmother. And in a dream, her grandmother said, things are difficult. If you're not getting any help, do what you think is best. And don't worry about what people say, because if you pay attention to what people are saying, you feel this is like a snake. And if you say things, you pay attention to them, you're feeding it. It's like you're feeding this snake. But if you don't, you ignore it, it will break. The snake will break, become glass, and break 1,000 pieces. And she woke up in the morning and she was feeling much easier within herself. She was feeling much happier. She couldn't quite remember that she had been talking with her grandmother, but she had a sense of hope and she was feeling better. But she could remember in the imagery that came up, and was like she could see the snake, and suddenly the snake would become glass and would break, explode in 1,000 pieces. And that was all she had the imagery of the dream, and she felt well, although she couldn't quite exactly remember what the dream was. And I think many times we have experience similar to that, especially when we're going through a difficult period of difficulties, things we need to resolve, a lot of problems and everything. We tend at times we tend to have a maybe family that members of a family or friends who entered to the spiritual world before us, and they still are concerned about our well-being, and they come to talk to us and give us some assistance, some help, some support. And we have all this imagery, all these symbols, and although we can't quite remember what it is, we will have the sense of well-being. So it's very, very important, dreams in our life. It is a lot of release, psychological release as well. So it's a very interesting topic.
It is. It is. Thank you, my dear. I also want to say good evening. We have Janet Lee from Arizona. First time here is watching us. Thank you. Welcome to our talk here. It happens every Wednesday, Janet. And also she said, many times I wait 24 hours before taking an action. And after that, I have a convinced change of mind. Yeah, it is. That's why we need sometimes take us some time to decide something. Also, Marcos Pimenta it is with us. A friend Yordi Kuma, Realia. Good to have you here. Long time don't see you, Realia. Our dear friend Elsa Rossi. Ebony Paris. Oh, good. Thank you for watching us. Good to have you here. Thank you. So, okay. First things first. While we were sleeping, like for example, Silvia gave you a good example now. She this lady dreamt with her grandmother, had an advice, but can we learn while we are sleeping? This help us to our evolve ev- evolving process somehow, Charles.
Yes, of course. Of course, we can learn while sleeping. It has not exactly the same effect as learning whilst we are awake. Huh? So we cannot learn everything by sleeping because, again, when we come back to the material dimension, all what we have learned will stay in us like intuition or like feelings, or like faculties we have for given matters or for arts or whatever, but the learning we have during childhood and teenager when we are young is necessary in order to have the full consciousness of our learnings. That's the difference. But of course, we can learn whilst when we are sleeping, and there are several parts of the book of Chico Xavier, André Luis, showing some courses which exist in the spiritual world, where sometimes, from time to time, you have some participants which are incarnated but sleeping. So it's a confirmation of this. Basically, our body is recovering energies, but our soul as well. Now, again, due to this change of dimension, we do not bring all our learnings in our awake consciousness.
Good. Yes. Thank you. Thank you. It's important to understand every single action we are learning, either for good or bad. reaction you're going to have, it is to learn. Never ever it is a punishment. Never ever it is a, oh, I put you now in timeout. You are in my black blacklist. So no, there's not that. It's totally different. But then um, when I have that feeling of deja vu, no? uh, is there any connection with perhaps a dream, perhaps a past life experience, or this is just an image came up to my mind and I need to figure out what is that? But I do have the feeling I was here before. I met that person once.
Well, it's a glitch in the Matrix, Steven. If you ever seen the Matrix, the movies, they actually say that deja vu is a glitch in the Matrix. But all jokes aside, I think that one great way of looking at it, the way I understand it, is to piggyback on what Charles was telling us about intuition in many different ways, right? We know that before we are born, this time around and many times around, we have sometimes an inkling of the big milestones of our lives or some moments in our lives that might give us some sort of impression. And so while we don't have our entire lives planned for us minute by minute, there are some key events and some key things in our lives that are sort of guided beforehand so that we can learn and face some important challenges and do some important learning. And in some of those moments, some key moments, we may have a gleaning of something that we planned before. So this idea of deja vu or déjà senti, right? Like something you felt before or seen before, could be a recollection of this planning that you have done before. It could also be some sort of connection that you have to that moment, place, and time, right? That lets you do that. But I think by far, I tend to think about the deja vu piece as a really sense of familiarity and connection, an intuition that you either had from that planning before, before you were born, or as a result of a spiritual conversation you may have had with that person in a dream, right, while sleeping, as things come. Because as Silvia was mentioning with a great passage from the one of the books of Andrea Lewis, as Charles mentioned too, as we step out of our bodies, if we have something that is weighing on us or that we're really interested on, we are going to, as we are outside, still think about that and still talk to some people about that, still try to solve problems if we can. So it's not unlike for us to have some conversations with people that maybe we could advise me. Like, for example, if I'm really worried about a work situation, I might just come at night and visit Stevan and say, I'm really worried about this work situation. I hope can you give me any tips? Or I can go to Charles or Silvia and do the same thing, right? And so as a result of that, sometimes we get good advice that we are able to recall. And it's also very possible that in one such an encounter with those who guide us and who are wiser than us, some people call them guardian angels, we call them mentors or guides, they might also give us some sense of some moments or key moments that we are going to face in the next, in the near future. And that memory, that's also a recollection from the spiritual world, right, stays with us. And in such a way that when something happens, we have that connection, that sense of deja vu. And last but not least, I'm not going to I'm not going to cross off the fact that sometimes we can just think that we're having a deja vu, but it can just be a sense of familiarity with something in particular, right?
Yeah.
We just, hey, I smelled a beautiful perfume and I remember something, and then I just didn't know really what happened there. But I think that one of the great things that we understand as we begin to really think of ourselves as spiritual beings and not physical beings is that we do have an intuition. Many times we do have conversations with those who are in the spiritual world about what things are happening in our lives. And so it's no surprise that some of the recollection seeps in and we're able to recall that and recognize that when we are alive. At least that's a perspective for you there.
Yeah, good, my friends. I like comment Janet put here. Good question. Sometimes it's a deja vu.
Yeah,
Yeah,
sometimes life is not great, right?
yeah, yeah. We can, as an Irish quote here, we cannot make an omelette without breaking the eggs.
Uh-huh.
So,
But isn't that right? Like, what is a deja vu? Sometimes it's a deja woohoo, right? From a spiritual perspective,
yeah,
because the challenges we face are the ones that are going to make us grow. And we think about it from the physical perspective. We want no problems. I want to retire by the beach, drinking one of those fancy, drinks with a little umbrella because it sounds very tropical and very nice, right? And do nothing. And that's our idea of like retiring or having a good life, is having no trouble at all and doing nothing. That sounds, appealing for a couple of minutes, but the more I think about it, that's really my idea of hell, because I wouldn't want to do that for more than a couple of days. After
yeah,
that, right? So I think from a spiritual perspective, what we really, really want is to face these challenges so that we can learn and grow and be able to do more things in the future. So when we think with our spiritual brains, the challenges we face really are beautiful compliments and an opportunity for us to grow. Now, it's really hard to remember that when we are here, and depends on the challenge we're facing. That is extremely hard, but that's why having conversations such as these ones is nice, because it helps us to remember the things that we are studying and to step into our own spiritualness, our spirituality, and remember that we can tackle anything that comes our way, because there is a God, there's justice, and we are capable, and we have been slowly trained to do that. So let's turn that deja vu upside down, right? Um,
deja vu.
and make it a deja vu. And as you can see, I have lots of coffee today, so I'm highly caffeinated.
Yeah, yeah, good, good. Um, Lou VM, she wrote, I experienced a deja vu when I was 13 years old on a trip to Italy. The feeling was very special. I felt myself in a different time, but it was me, myself. It was just a moment. Silvia, I can read in your mind you want to comment about it.
Did you have a deja vu about that, Stevan?
No.
Oh.
Do you, no, I was listening to you, not particularly. I was, I suppose we all have this kind of experiences that Luvi has, because, often we go to a places. I remember my cousin, when she came to London, we were walking just near where I live here. Lots of parks around here. And in the river, also the Thames just down the road. And she said, "Oh my God, I've been here before, been here before." And then she said, before she actually had a dream that she was in London before she came. And when we went to this place, she sort of recognized it because she had already been here in a dream. But I think one of the thing, it was a question of Ebony, actually. She's asking about, can spiritual mentors help prepare someone for their discarnation via sleep or dreams? I think our mentors and our spiritual helpers, our guardian angels, they prepare us for many, many things. And I can't see why in, sleep, when we sleep and dreams and we meet them, they couldn't help us and, already prepare for a discarnation. Because as we know, the act of dying is very easy. The discarnation process takes a lot longer. So, I mean, if the person is in a level of being able to understand, then I suppose this is quite common to help, because they will help us. I think we talked about this before between the three of us, the four of us. How sometimes, we're having problems, difficulties, and we have this dream that we're talking to someone, and suddenly, they're talking to us, and we have this feeling that this was discussed, and we come with a solution. And so I think this is very, very possible. I suppose, if you like to, Charles and Dan also we talk about it, but I think this is very important. I always think of that there is this tribe. I mean, I don't know. I mean, this was years ago, but everything's so much changing in our world. But there is a tribe in Samoa, in an island in the Pacific, that every morning when they woke up, everyone in the tribe would meet at the center of the place and talk about what they had dreamt the night before. Everybody would tell their dreams. Actually, I heard the story from a professor, Australian psychoanalyst, who did some research in this with these people for quite a while. When he was telling us, it's a common thing. They come together and everybody tells what they had dreamt the night before. Then they go about their business. And so they are the most calm, tranquil, grounded people that he has ever met, because everybody just tells their dreams. Because, of course, our dreams, especially if we are very concerned about something, we have very agitated dreams, So if we are able to tell, it just come out of us, we be able to analyze sometimes what is going on with us, because I think the question you had asked me previously, Stevan, was that, if a good spirits, good friends you meet, but we also meet the opposite. We also go to the not so nice place. And going back to one of my favorite sources in Spiritism, the books of André Luiz, we see there a situation in which they are in the spiritual world, in this very strange kind of place. Actually, I remember the book is Libertação, and they are in this city, and they are putting in a kind of prison. So they are there, the André and Hilario and his mentor, Gubbio, I think. And they listen to the conversation to the people next to them, who are in a sort of cell next to them. And there is a woman who comes to talk to another woman who is in the spiritual world, who is not a very nice person at all. And they talk, and this woman is telling this lady, who actually had dreams, she goes to visit this woman in this very sad, very unhappy place. It's a kind of city, a kind of town, and she tells her things, what to do, and even about the husband and things. And this woman comes with all this advice, which is really bad for her own life, and also for the life of her family. So we do also go and talk to people that are not very nice. There are very many places in the spiritual world that people who take drugs and drinks and sex and all that, they go into those places because we go where we are attracted to. Our spirit is free to choose and free itself and go wherever it wants. So we have the good spirits that help us, that guide us, that prepare us for work, for decisions we need to take in our lives, to help our families, to help ourselves, to help the world generally. But also we can go to the dark places, not so happy places, where the advice is very negative and it's very painful. But we always, we learn this in Spiritism, is that no one can interfere with you, can guide you into something wrong if you don't allow them to. So basically, we go and visit them. If we open the door, a house that the doors and the windows are all open, anybody can come in. But if you close the window and only allow the people who you want to be in your house, then it's a different thing. And I think that's one of the things of dreams. We can go We can have a problem sorted out, guided, helped, assisted. You sometimes you have dreams that you come with such a sense of joy. You wake up in the morning and you're so happy. You can't quite remember your dream, but you feel so happy. You feel like the world is there and you can go and take it with both hands. So, we go, and there are all sorts of things. It depends on us what we choose to join in. I think.
Yeah, yeah. Good.
So I think, Ebony, it's very possible that this happens, but depends on the person.
Yeah.
And there's Munir there. Hello, Munir.
Hello,
Hi.
Munir. Good to have you here, my friend. Yeah. So, let me see here. My list. We cover. I'm running out of options here. Good one.
But can I say something? Because I've read this many years ago in a book the friend of mine had. He did a lot of work he was a Jungian therapist. There is a very famous dream that man who did a lot of work to liberate the slave, to end slavery. He owned, I think, ships, that used to transport slaves from Africa to America. And there was a problem one time. He would never go on the trips, of course, but one time he had to go. And on the way back, he had a dream, and it was very vivid, and it was night. He was outside in the boat, and somebody came out of the water and gave him this ring. And he said to him, this is a God's gift to you. You must keep it really well and keep it safe. And then he kept looking at this ring, and this person just went back into the water. And then somebody else came out and said, oh, no, don't. This is a lie. This ring, if you keep it, it's going to enslave you. You must not keep it. Throw it away. And he was so, afraid. So he threw the ring away back into the sea. And as he saw the thing going into the water, he realized that he had made a terrible, terrible mistake. He was really, really upset. He knew that he had made a very bad mistake. Anyway, the trip, he woke up in the morning, and then he had to do all the things the business had to do, and on his way back. But one thing was, until then, he never paid attention, so on the way back, for the first time, he noticed the noise, the voices of the people. They were weeping and crying and the lament that he had never paid attention to before. So he became more sensitive to that. But the way back, going to America, he had the dream again. And this person came back again with a dream, with a ring, and said to him, this ring is yours because it's a gift from God to you that you must keep, but you're not ready yet to keep it. So I will keep it for you until you're ready to receive it again. So he woke up in the morning and he was very, something had changed about him. He felt very sensitive. It was, when he heard the people crying and lamenting, and he was so distressed. His sensitivity changed completely. So when they went back, he freed all the slaves. He went back. He took the boat back, the ship back to Africa, and he freed all the slaves. And then when he went back to America, he used all the money he had to help liberate the slaves, and he stopped the slave trade. And he actually wrote that song, Amazing Grace,
Good.
which everybody knows.
Yes.
He wrote
yes.
that Amazing Grace that freed. I mean, I read this in a book. I'm not completely sure if that's true or not, but that was the story. And he did, he did live. He's a part of history. And he wrote the song Amazing Grace, who freed a wretched like me, which is a beautiful, beautiful song. And he used all the money he had done before to help people and to end the slave trade. So there you are, through a
Yeah,
dream.
yeah, yeah. And um, the, okay, we have a question for Janet. Thank you, Janet. I was running out of questions here. I have never asked for a connection with my angels or guides before sleeping. Is this something you may have a comment on? Who's gonna take it? Done.
I was trying to be so quiet here, which is so rare for me,
You
and
came
then
to London to work, my friend.
um, hi Janet, that is a great question. It's okay. It's okay to do it. As a matter of fact, we sort of do it when we pray before we go to sleep, and which is a great and healthy habit that many people do, to get you tuned in to the higher sphere, so to say, before you get ready to leave your physical body as a spirit and go somewhere else and do something else. So you can absolutely do that. And maybe you already are doing that via prayer, because that connection with something divine, something greater, is already established when we have the chance to pray, which really is to elevate our thoughts, to connect with something bigger and better than we are. Right. But many times we have this desire to connect with our mentors or guides because we are having a difficult time, or just because we want to feel seen, known, valued, loved. Right. Because life is tough sometimes. But here's something that is also very reassuring that the Spirits tells us in the Spirits book and many different places. Our mentors and guides are in contact with us more often than we imagine. Most of the time we just don't remember that, right? We don't remember those dreams as effectively as we would like. We don't remember all the spiritual interactions we have. And so rest assured that when you call out to them, when you reach out to them with your mind, they hear it, and they will reciprocate that. Now, the difficult piece is not calling out to them or thinking about them or praying to them. I think that the difficult piece is quieting our hearts and minds to hear the response. Sometimes it's really difficult for us to really be in a place where we can kind of calm down and say, I'm going to reflect and meditate here and see what is it that my intuition brings me. What kind of thoughts come to me after I enter that space where I've asked for help, right? Because sometimes we just do a quick one, we pray, we do it, and we just like, oh, we wait 3 seconds and we move on. But we need to also make time to hear, to listen. So it's very okay for you to do this connection with your angels or with your guides or your mentors, whatever name you want to ascribe to those incredible beings that are wiser than us and kind of give us advice on how we can live more spiritually too. And so, yes, go ahead and do it. Why not? Why not ask for a great advice from people who are really, wiser than us, more experienced than us? And you can do that directly. You can do via prayer. You can do it at any point in time. Now, the only last thing I'm going to say is, besides the importance of making time to listen, is that no matter what the answer is, all right, it is important for you to know that you are in control of your next steps. And so sometimes we want an answer to a challenge or a problem that we have, but sometimes our mentors and guides may not give us that answer because they want us to exercise our own good judgment and make the best decision we can. And that is a very difficult thing to do as well, because it's so much easier when somebody wiser just tells us what to do. But it is so much more lasting and empowering when we make that decision and that choice for ourselves and eventually realize that we did a great job or not so great job. That has like a staying power, that has really big learning power for us. So connect, right? Make time to listen, but also know that ultimately you are in control of what is it that you're going to do next with everything else that's happening in your life.
Wonderful, wonderful. Charles, you want to compliment and say your final words for today? You're on mute, my friend.
Now, sleep, going to sleep and dreaming is something that we do every day, isn't it? And all what we talked about today is exactly demonstrating that we are much more than just a physical body, isn't it?
Yes.
Huh? So it's very simple things like this are like going asleep and dreaming are evidences for change of paradigm, to go out of this reducing materialist paradigm and to enter into this much richer, much more, how to say, stimulating, encouraging, consoling, and whatever spiritualist paradigm. And of course, there are a lot of other things to talk about sleeps. Silvia told we can have dreams or we can have nightmares. That's also something true. The law which governs our relations in the spiritual world are the law of affinity, which is similar, thus comes together somehow like automatically, as per a natural law. And then there are other developments of the dreams, like, for instance, somnambulism. It's where we can have emancipation of the soul, which is not properly sleep, albeit somnambulism, natural somnambulism happens often when we sleep, but there can be also spontaneous or induced somnambulism, where our soul also gets emancipated from our physical body and have soul direct perception, either from our own soul or from other souls which are here together interacting with us, and that the somnambulist can then express through speech and talking, albeit he also doesn't keep any memory when he wakes up. So there are a lot of things and phenomena pushing us to abandon definitively this materialist paradigm and to enter in the spiritualist one.
Thank you. Thanks, Charles. Silvia, do you want to compliment something and your final words?
Well, no, it's just that, I think if I were to say something, just be aware of what you dreams, and if you put a little notebook, a pencil or something by your bed, just take note of it, and take note of it during the day, see what the dream's trying to teach you. Because I think just never Janet said she never asked for a connection, but the connection between ourselves and our guardian angels and our spiritual benefactors and our friends who are in the spiritual world is never. And sometimes, especially, as we said before, in moments of difficulties that we feel a bit lost and not quite knowing what to do for the best and everything, it's very often that our friends or benefactors will come and talk to us and help us to see what's the best way to go and what to do. They come to give us support, and just be with us and say, you are not alone, we are here with you and everything, which makes a big difference in our lives. And ask ourselves, what is this dream or this situation is trying to teach me? Because then it's a different thing. We ask something that we want a positive, rather than think, oh, why does always happen to me this thing? If we turn the question around, say, what is this difficulty, this problem is trying to teach me? We have a different perspective, and I think this is very important for our lives. and open ourselves to listen to the advice that is given to us by our friends and by the good spirits. So that's it. That's it.
Good, good. Okay, so it's about our time. First of all, I would like to thank Dan for come to London to work, and you are working. So thank
Put him
you.
to work as
Job,
well.
job done. Job done. Yeah.
It's a pleasure. I love being with you guys. I love the city. We could have talked about deja vu in London and my previous experiences, maybe some other time. But it's just really a pleasure for you guys to be with you guys. It's always great to see you. Always great to hear you, because I know that some people may turn this on and not see, but just listen as they go on their daily commute. Thanks for having me, and again, just a pleasure.
That's why I asked you the deja vu question, my friend.
Yes, I should have gone into it, but yes,
Yeah.
I have walked streets in the city that I knew where they're going, even though I had never been to the city before, right?
Yeah.
So that happens. It's not different than the question that we had about Italy from Lou, I think, right?
Yes.
Sometimes
Look.
it's just
Yeah.
memories that kind of permeate the spiritual membrane, so to speak, and come back to us from previous existences, and we feel the things that we felt before. Sometimes we don't know how to make sense of that. But anyways, it is a pleasure to be here, and to talk about all these things and help me exercise my spiritual muscle, so I can remember that I'm a spirit first.
Good. Thank you. Thank you. It's a pleasure to have you here. And anytime you decide to take the bus and pop off here in London, we are here. Yeah. And sometimes if this bus make kind they make a deviation
A detour, a slight
to
detour up
Ireland.
the Emerald Islands. Yeah.
Yeah. If this bus, no, just to tell you,
Beware,
when you're
beware
coming
of
from
what you ask
America,
for, my friend. Beware of what you ask for.
yeah, you sometimes the plane or the bus
You
before
being
reaching
get
London, just coincidence, just coincidence. Not pressure, no pressure as well.
No,
Uh,
we talked maybe January, maybe late January. I might show up in those beautiful Emerald and a beautiful island in the Pacific
we'll
too,
be
right?
here. We'll be here. We'll be here. Charles, once again, thank you for your insights and
Thank you.
for your punctual words. Thanks so much. Ms. Gibbons, thank you for your
thank
words as
you.
well. I want to say thank you
Thank you very
to
much.
Janet Lee. She says, my ancestors are from Ireland. Oh, I'll be here. I'm here. I'm here.
He's-
My Irish accent here then says everything. Like, well,
And
I'm
Stephen, Patty,
yes,
Bertozzo.
Ireland.
yeah,
Ireland is the land of some of the greatest writers of the English language, isn't it? Funnily
exactly,
enough,
exactly. Yeah,
Oscar Wilde.
Saints
yeah,
and scholars, they
Yeah,
say, land of saints and scholars. Yeah.
yeah.
poets.
So our
Yeats.
friend here, Lu VM, Janet Gilson da Gama, Ebony Paris. Let me see. Oh dear,
Lily.
Elsa, Rialia Rom, Marcos Pimenta, and our friend Jordi Kuhn. So, for those who interact with us, thank you so much. Lawrence Savi was with us, Thais Ferrari. So good. So, it's wonderful. We had a full house today. And I want to say thank you, everyone. Enjoy the
Too.
rest of your day or night. For Genesis, it's the rest of day. For us, here, rest of our night. And for those who are gonna watch us later, please leave your comments, and we'll be here next Sunday, next Wednesday. Sorry, Next Wednesday. Let me pop up here our topic. I forgot this. I forgot this. Our topic for next week it is
Why do we age?
fear of old age and death. What is the reason that human beings age and die? So doesn't matter if you spend a lot of money with your creams, sunscreens, Sunday, you will gonna age and you will gonna die. No? So that's our topic for next week, 3rd of October at 9 p.m. London time, 10 p.m. France, and 4 p.m. US, but East Coast.
It's a new time, huh? Summer, out of summertime now.
Oh yes, our clocks are going back on Sunday.
I thought it was the following Sunday.
No, it's this Sunday. It's the last Sunday in
This Sunday. Oh, okay.
in October. Yes.
Yeah, so it will be
So,
5 p.m.
end of
in
summertime.
yeah.
So it means that now 5 o'clock in the afternoon. It's already 9.
Yeah, 5 o'clock for the US East Coast.
Yeah.
But US is changing as well, I think, but not the same day.
Yeah.
Oh, it's France.
Yeah, I think it's 1 week later. Something like
Yes.
this.
Ours is the 27th. So this Sunday.
Yeah.
Yes, now it's getting late early, isn't it?
Yeah.
5 o'clock is dark. Oh God. Oh, never mind.
See you, my friends. Have a good evening. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. God bless you, everyone. Ciao. Bye-bye.